listening to the Contraritics Podcast, pushing back against the insanity of this world with arguments that may or may not work. And here's your hosts, Josh the Gun Nerd and Ian the Beer Nut.
School's out for summer.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you're 4 feet away from your mic.
I am. School's out for summer. Apparently my brain's out permanently.
Yeah. We're checking out for summer.
Yeah.
I mean, can we say by now, do we have a track record? Do our arguments work more than not work? Or
I believe that all of our arguments work. If the world
completely sound.
It's just nobody's listening.
Right.
So do your part to listen.
Right.
I've been seeing people getting excited over our little stickers.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I took a picture the other day because, one of my students brought their mug into class and it had it on it, and somebody else asked for a sticker. And I was like, Josh gave me some. I don't know where I stuck them right now, but I see a couple right here.
Yeah. We got some more here.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's just one of the graphic ideas that I had that turned out pretty decent.
You sent it to me, and then I, within about 5 minutes, ordered stickers.
Yeah. Our text messages back and forth are usually not overly descriptive, so...
No.
Josh said something like, I don't know, he said something like, that's a vibe, but I actually like it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
I'm usually looking for feedback. I'm like, because usually I know if something's not quite working. This one I felt like was pretty cool, but then I'm also like, I might not be seeing something.
This one's good. I mean, the theme fits over the whole sticker. I like it a lot. I like 80% of each item you send to me. There's always seems like there's something that's not quite right.
Yeah.
So we're working through that.
Yeah, and some of it I'm
you
trying
harder than others.
I'm trying to construe. I'm trying to like pull in an element that I know doesn't quite fit, but I want it to fit. And it's like one of them. It was because it was a different, like the AK that I was trying to use was gray and everything else was white.
Yeah.
And I just it didn't work. So I ended up using a different firearm. But I'm gonna make sure this camera's pointed on you.
Yeah. Might have moved because I moved the mic.
Yeah, it worked out. Is it cutting off your head? No. We can still see your shiny dome.
All right.
This is part of producing and hosting the show at the same time. But yeah, we are. We just finished school. Last day of school was yesterday. Got out service next week, so it's official. There are junior high boys in the hallway.
Yep. We're doing that.
Yeah. And this is, my first year of teaching is in the books, and it was great, and I'm glad I did it. And so far, it sounds like I'll be back next year.
Yeah, that's good. I'm looking forward to whatever next year holds. It's looks like I'm coming back as well, and trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like. And we still have out service for all of next week. So students are out, but we're in without ties. And
right.
So it'll be
A little calmer around here.
Yeah, a little bit more. It is kind of nice. So speaking of calm, we should get into a beer.
I think we should put this garbage in our mouth.
Let's do it. So you've got this Great Notion Munchies Imperial Garbage Stout, which it says Imperial Stout with cacao nibs, peanuts, marshmallows, pretzels, potato chips, graham crackers, certified color. Certified.
Certified.
I really don't like the flavor of uncertified color.
I detest it.
It tastes like burning.
Spit it out of my mouth.
That's right. And natural and artificial flavors. So we'll dive into this thing.
Yeah.
I bet you it's going to come out in chunks.
Yeah.
With little pieces of foil.
That would be great. Yeah, it is. I mean, And it does work for a stout on this kind of day because, it is overcast.
Yeah.
But we're quickly coming into the,
It smells good.
the Blue Mountain type of weather for beers.
Yeah. That's right.
But there's still the evenings with a cigar, that dark beer always goes for.
Wow. Yeah, this is like a candy drink.
Cacophony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of like a bowl of pretzels and M&Ms.
Yeah, what's the oh yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty different.
Yeah, for garbage, it's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's garbage I didn't buy.
Potato chips, pretzels, graham crackers.
Yeah, that's strange. What's the is it something puppies? What's the Chex Mix that's chocolatey and powdered sugary and
Did
all
you say
that?
Puppies?
It's something
Muddy Buddies?
Muddy Buddies. Muddy Puppies. I
Muddy
don't know.
Puppies.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to lick a piece of salt just to offset the sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny, like back to the merch idea because I'm shuffling these stickers through my hands. It is interesting where there's kind of this gravity around, making ideas into physical things.
Yeah.
Where people are like, "Oh, you're actually doing a thing,"
Yeah.
"Oh, you put it in printed form, or you put it in,
Yeah.
even more,
It legitimizes it.
right, yeah, like, oh, you're actually like." I mean, because I would say and we would joke about it, how we kind of podcasted in a closet for a while.
Yeah.
Or in the garage or on the porch or
Back into a closet.
Yep. But, we weren't, I guess I didn't have the vision for it at the time. And, but we kept pressing record and we both enjoyed it. And now
Apparently 3 other people did too. So.
Exactly. Right. So, yeah, and it just it is interesting how 90%, I don't know, is 90% the idea and 10% the actual doing of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because if you don't have the idea, then you're just wandering aimlessly. What are you doing at that point? But to actually execution, I mean, I'm sure there's like entrepreneurial talks and stuff that everybody has ideas, but it's that roommate that says, no, I invented that before, or I actually invented Napster, or what was that?
Napster. And I remember running into a guy back in the day that said, I think there ended up being a little shtick about it in a movie or something, but I remember going and doing a 3D hunt where you're hunting fake animals with a bow. And this guy was actually talking about that he invented the little clip on a bag of bread, the little plastic thing that the first thing you do when you take it off is you snap it in half, snap it into quarters, and throw it in the garbage.
Right.
I hate those things. Other than tearing them apart, but that was something that somebody, whether it was that guy or not,
And there's always that guy that you're watching as seen on TV. And they're like, I thought of that. A toilet paper, holder roll that, comes down from the ceiling. You're like, that was my idea.
Yeah, exactly. I just didn't do anything with it.
The thing nobody needed,
Yeah.
is now being advertised
Yep.
on as seen on TV. Which, how does that work? No, I guess it's only as seen on TV when it's in a store because you're watching it on TV. But whatever the ad network is that advertises all those.
Yeah.
It is your, they show these ridiculous accidents like, do your eggs crack?
and then it shows somebody that's just flat hands an egg into a bowl with extreme incompetence.
Exactly. Do your bottle openers, result in injury? Or
yeah, exactly. How many times have you poked an eye out while mopping the floor? You got all right. See ya.
Yeah, they're just coming up with problems that don't exist.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where somebody just said this to me the other day, but or was it you? I don't think so. But just when you have specialized tools, they are good for one task, or so specialized tools. But then when you have multi tools, There are many kinds of generic tools that don't do anything well. You know, that, hey, it's both a blender, a chopper, and a, and
a pureer, and it kind of just chunks everything up into a chunky liquid.
Right. There have been a few tools, probably that, like a multi-tool, that has different attachments and can cut in different angles and stuff.
It's the right thing to have when you can't carry an entire toolbox, and so you just need it to kind of half-ass a bunch of different things.
Right. But there have been too many examples of that just don't do well at anything, which is not the type of person that you want to be. I mean, not so hyper specialized that you can't do anything else, but also not like just half-assing everything where you're not actually being effective at any of the things. I don't have enough time to really focus on my kids' problems because I'm trying to be a teacher over here, and then you're kind of only doing it halfway as a teacher, and then you're like, well, I don't have time because I'm also whatever. Which kind of brings me, as we're talking about some things. Talking about things to talk about that we've been thinking about. I was just listening to myself say that.
It sucks when you have to listen to yourself sometimes.
Did I just say that? Yes, I did. But just how communities function best when people are leaning into things that they see, opportunities that they see that or don't see, and other people are encouraging them to do it. So hey, I think you would be good at this. Have you considered this? It's good to be on the lookout for opportunities for yourself and for other people. Not necessarily volunteering people to do things, but hey, I think you would do well at this. I think it's stuff that you enjoy.
Encouraging somebody to do something. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
Right.
It's because, Sean was like, hey, I think you'd be good at this. And I'm like, man, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I think that I'm probably doing pretty decent.
And not just looking to stack things, to put more on your sheet that makes you look busy or makes you look like, hey, I'm doing stuff.
I don't need to be more busy.
But I think we need to guard ourselves from, especially when there are a lot of ways to contribute, just contributing in a less thorough manner, or maybe you just do one little part, but you do that little part really well. And
always, figuring out what, what is it that I'm doing mediocre and how can I do better? I do that often times, mostly as a dad. Okay, I've been not doing this well. I've been kind of, working on, motivating my children a certain direction, only when I get really frustrated. So how can I do it when I'm taking real joy in them and then encouraging them? So modifying things in that way, or, one I think about a few years ago, before we moved out to the cabin, with Karen, she always made either really doughy cookies or Frisbees. And so I was like, hey, just make a ton of cookies. It was October. I'm like, just spend all of October just making cookies.
Yeah.
And I guess I did this, and these are more things, less important things, but also just taking dominion over all things. I've done that over the last several years with, cooking meat on a grill, which, any 35 to 45-year-old male wants to do better.
Right.
But so me working on doing that and talking to Grant about, temperatures and, all those kinds of things. And with Karen, it was hey, just spend a month making cookies. Just figure out hey, what happened this time? Change something, make it happen differently the next time. And so cookies are better. And
instead of choosing to not do it because you failed at it. Just do it again.
Do it again.
Reps,
keep doing
getting
it.
reps in. Yeah.
And just be hey, I'm going to spend this time doing this. So it's, I'll be doing a 20-pound brisket, probably starting tonight or tomorrow morning, for Father's Day. And so the last one I did, my father-in-law really liked it, and he was like, "Hey, I buy the meat, you do the smoking." I was like, "I'm 100% down for that." So I'm, brisket's a scary one. You can screw up a pork butt and you're out $20. You screw up a brisket and you're out $120.
Yeah, it is one of those. The bigger you go in scale, sometimes it doesn't always translate in terms of like, okay, how you do 10 pounds isn't necessarily how you do 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Or
it's not just time amplified. It's all kinds of other things.
Yeah, different factors play into it. And just learning, like, I think, as we're having some just growing pains, like any business does, when it goes from maybe 5 employees to 20 employees over a course of a few years, we're now a bigger institution as a school. We've kind of fluctuated. Our weight has gone up and down as we've changed our diet. But now having our own building and things like that compared to what it was, 10 years ago. And I think we're just learning how to utilize all the people and the people learning to be utilized. And how can I contribute? How can I make this thing better? If you see a thing, just like volunteer to do it. You know, and don't. Probably somebody had that idea. And had just been waiting for the right person to come along. In order to yell through the hallways as they go down. But
because nothing's going on in this hallway.
Right. We're the ones that choose to keep the door cracked because it is like a smoker in here. If we shut the door. But just learning to take up the thing that you see and
we're small enough that you can't be specialized. It's not like we can just have one classroom with one teacher and you walk in and you learn all the things there. Like you've got to actually be wanting to become better at all the things, whether that's, plunging a toilet or, teaching geometry or what have you. Like you've got to want to be really good at both.
Well, and I do think, Jonathan says that we start by looking for the right kind of people. And I think that the right kind of person, regardless, let's say Comfort was a giant university and we had the funds and we had the wherewithal to have a, not just a biology department, but we had a microbiology that specialized in whatever. And we had a professor that had a degree in that. Yeah. We wouldn't want, for the betterment of him and for the community and for his students, we wouldn't want him to only care about that one thing. Like, I think as a Christian, you should care about all of God's creation, and you should care about more than just your specialization. And so I think while in terms of like professional contributions and stuff like that, our community needs that. I think even if we were a giant organization, I think for the health of the organization, we need each individual person to care about a lot more than just that one thing.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's how it's going to grow, and that's how you're going to grow. I mean, just looking at your skill set and the way it's taken off over the last year, people are like, "Oh, do you have a background in that?" I've heard people ask you that a couple times, and you're like, "Well, I mean,
in college, I did a little." I don't know. People did a lot of things. People do a lot of things in college
that they regret. But like, and even so, college was what, 12 years ago for you?
Something like that.
No, it's longer than that.
Longer than that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because you've got kids that are older than that. So.
I mean, I graduated when I was 21, and I'm 36. So
I mean, just technology, and it's funny how time goes by, and you're like, I know. 12 years ago, like, no, more like 16, 17.
And just, it is weird how things stick with you. Like, you don't know what things are going to stick with you. But I guess I was I've always been interested in. I'm the picture taker in our family. Like Kim might forget her phone at home, definitely even if she has it on her person, she's not going to remember to take it out and take pictures unless I tell her, make sure you take some pictures. Yeah. Like when I would be at work and it's first day of school, I'm like, hey, get some pictures of the kids. And she may or may not remember, but I know for sure.
Then you're like, I know how to fix this. I will be there for the first day of school by working there.
Yeah. I do, I know she's engaged with the kids, so that's why she's not taking pictures. So I'll take that trade off. But I do think that it's one of those things, just learning where to lean in and how to contribute, how to let Luke know that he can bump in here anytime.
How's it going, bud?
Good. Ethan left already.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be here a little bit longer, and then we'll be going. No. Nope.
You can go find some bugs outside.
Yeah. There's a bunch of ants out there. He's going to come back with a bird.
Yeah, totally. He frequently does that.
He did last weekend. Caught a bird and ran around with it for half an hour. Got a birdhouse, shoved it in the birdhouse.
That's funny.
Didn't have an entry big enough for it to go out, so it was just stuck in the birdhouse. He lifted up the roof and put it in there, and just got it in his hand, and he's full on Tom Cruise running with the bird.
Like that monkey was running.
Yeah, exactly.
What I could not keep my train of thought with Luke standing there, because I knew he needed to ask something. But I was thinking that I've always been interested in perspective, through a lens, what's in the foreground, what's in the background, depth of field, what's in focus, what's out of focus.
Does it drive you crazy to when you whip out your camera and then everybody poses?
It depends on the situation.
Yeah, but generally,
usually I'm wanting the candid shot, not the posed.
Everybody posed with a fake smile.
Although,
it's a time
for year-end review, the video that I just put together for the school. Yeah, the fun stuff is people actually looking happy and jumping in front of the camera, for that type of hype video. Totally. The just looking studious in the classroom is a different type of video. Yep. But they both have their place. Yep. But yeah, I actually, for all the picture taking I do, we don't actually have a lot of family pictures because I kind of hate staged family pictures. I mean, there's a place for them, just to see. Okay, let's get everybody together. Let's get a timestamp in the timeline of our family for what size everybody was and how many teeth were missing. Yeah. But I don't actually like that type of picture taking typically. Yep. I'd rather keep I actually find a deep joy in capturing people doing either odd things or I knew that was going to set you off, or things that they love. Yep. I can't pull out my phone because it's recording, but
hopefully,
right. Nobody actually knows. But yesterday, John Giddings was sitting out, just sitting in a chair, looking out at the parking lot, under the cover over here, and I'm like, I have no clue what he's doing. He's probably listening to an audiobook or something, but it just looks like he's sad, just looking out, contemplating life. like
Keanu Reeves on a bus bench.
Right. Or, taking pictures of customers in waiting rooms, just
as they're
sprawled out. Yeah. Taking it, using it like their bedroom. Yep. Back in my car selling days, but yeah, well, Josh, what did you, so as far as helping, either whether it be your kids or your students or whatever, giving them perspective, taking not just, book knowledge, but also real world. What was it like bringing the students either on the B trip or to your house, to your neck of the PNW?
Yeah, both were a lot of fun. And it encouraged me to do more. And yeah, the coming out to our house, it was fun. I found bugs that I've never seen before at our house. We found a red, I think it's called a red web or red lace beetle, which is cool because of the type of the wings that it has. It looks pretty neat when it goes to, it looks completely unnatural because it kind of has its wings, under these pods that I'm forgetting as a biology teacher what the name is right now.
It'll be on the test.
It will be. But we actually got to take off and watch that happen, and so that was cool. And we found carpenter bees accidentally in old rotten logs. We saw a duck hawk. Some people said it was a duck, some people said it was a hawk because it had really orange feet, but it had a hawk's head and no bill, and it was too far away to actually clearly identify it, even zooming in on it and all that. So it was just fun to take that time to everything that we've been learning over the last year, and then into the particular phylum that we were at the time, which is phylum Chordata, which is I was all this stuff is at my house, and it's probably at your house too.
Right. Yeah.
And,
I mean, neither of our properties get very much sun, but yours gets even less.
It gets a lot less,
which creates a whole new biome for different organisms.
Yeah, it does. It creates a protective layer for a lot of insects.
You can probably find a lot of salamanders there, whereas on mine, not so much.
Yeah, we get a lot of salamanders for the first time actually being caught with the human eye, 2 cougars last Monday. So those, fortunately or unfortunately, weren't out there when I brought the class out.
Right.
But that was really awesome. I haven't seen, cougars that close in the wild. I mean, these guys were 30 feet away. It was probably a male pursuing a female without a care in the world that I was there.
Why would the male pursue a female?
It's that time of year.
When a man...
That's right.
No, Josh, could you explain it in terms of how a flower's constructed?
Let me draw you a picture of a flower. I can
you have
do
the
that.
stamen and you have the...
all those things, yeah. Other conversations that have happened recently.
Right.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then going out to the Cossian Farm hives was a blast. I haven't actually been on those hives in, I want to say probably more than 10 years. Right around there, I guess. So getting out there to see what Mike had learned. Mike is somebody that the owner of Cossian Farms, last name Cossian. He is somebody that's just always had an overwhelming amount of knowledge on the bee life, the ecology of bees, and I've learned so much from him. He is like journeyman beekeeper, and I'm definitely well below that. And so to see what he has even learned since the last time I've worked hives with him was pretty cool. And then to see how the students were interested in that and much less afraid than I expected for the most part. There was 1 or 2 that were standing towards the back, but most of them that were really wanting to get right into it. It really excited me more so, and even that morning finding out that we can we have some hive equipment that we can start with next year. So being able to get classes out maybe on the regular to check out the whole cycle of bees. So all that was really good. And it's, being a biology teacher has enabled me to take what I have had hands-on knowledge with and get a deeper knowledge into everything about the biology of like ants and bees and rodents and insects and things that I've had the working knowledge with, but not like a deeper knowledge. So that's been a lot of fun this last year, and it seems to incite an excitement in the students when I'm excited about it.
When you care about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that fuels learning when a teacher actually cares about the thing. You know, it's like, at least as a student, like I remember like, okay, like, so Mrs. Frisk, you know, she loved Shakespeare, and but she didn't love every part of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But there was definitely things she really loved about Shakespeare. And as a whatever, 9th grader, 10th grader, you're like, okay, like this is a long, boring book.
Yeah.
But then she would read it and explain it and like, guys, isn't this great? Like, listen to how he phrases this, or listen to do you know what he just said? And we're like, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then she'd tell it, and you're like, wow, you got that from that? You know, like, he only said 3 words, but
then that incites you to listen to everything differently.
yeah, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's actually a story going on here. You
Yeah.
know, it sounds like just a bunch of old English that I can't even tell what's going on.
Yep.
But yeah, you're like, oh, I guess I'll, perk up, because I feel like that class was always right after lunch, and you're just like, the sun is coming in from the window, and you're just like, wow.
Nap time.
Yeah, exactly. But, I was thinking about, as you were talking, like the difference between like what you observed at your property is like, very like man not intervening, it's just what's naturally happening in the forest, versus the beekeeping is like very man oriented in terms of like, we are trying to harvest honey. We're utilizing a natural process to do that. But we are very much not letting bees in some ways live their natural life. We build structures for them, but also you're not trapping them inside of them. They naturally want to come to it.
Yeah.
And
they will leave if they don't like the conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Okay. So he just, Mike just posted recently, he posted an analogy of like, like we captured our first, wild
it was a late
swarm.
season swarm, yeah.
And he's like, sometimes it's like setting up, staging a house, and you want the first couple worker bees to come in and be like, huh, this is nice. I think I'll tell my friends about this,
Totally.
But if you don't stage the furniture just right, they might be like, I don't like it, and they might not stick around. So that was a really helpful analogy of like how to do that. But what I was getting to was like, this is actually like, I think the environmentalist, the pagan environmentalist, wants to basically rid the world of humans because we're polluting the earth, and we are a stink, and and for sure there is fallenness, there is stinkiness about man and its practices, but also we believe fundamentally that God created the earth for humans.
Yep.
Like, and he gave humans charge over the animals and said, take dominion. And so how we steward them, how we care for them is reflecting of what we believe. We don't actually believe that the world would be better just void of humans and just let the animals take over. Because there would be a fallout from that as well. Like,
absolutely. Yeah.
How long would it take for the dominant predators to reign over the earth? Like if wolves just went
crazy. Yeah, then
crazy. I don't know.
It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast this week talking about eastern bison, which is something that most people, they think of bison, they think far west of the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And in this podcast, it was talking about how they were able to determine through LiDAR and then also a particular, I don't know if it was an algae, it was some organic, growth that flourished because the chemical compounds of bison traveling, it's eating, it's slobbering, it's defecating, and all that, create a certain environment on a trail, and it kept a certain organic growth from happening. I can't remember if it was a moss or lichen or something like that. And once it left, it flourished in on those pathways. And I thought that was just like everything leaves its mark.
Right.
And so is that a good mark? Is it a bad mark? you know.
I mean, even what's happening I brought up wolves because I'm thinking of the situation in Colorado, which there's a lot of, I mean, there's, Joe Rogan will post stuff recently where he's like, I have friends that have a farm and they're, they just had this many calves wiped out and this many cows. And other people are like, Joe, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, okay, I don't know. But it seems like they introduced this thing to introduce wolves, introduce a bill to introduce wolves back into the environment because wolves are good. I don't know. I don't know what the motive is.
In some places, it seems like they've released them where they weren't native anyways. Like you really got to be careful with these things. So this is something we talked a little bit about ecology in the last week of school, and one of the things.
What is ecology? Like, how would you define ecology?
It's a good question because it's used a lot, but I don't think a lot of people understand it. But a quick explanation is like how all things living and like how living things interact with like animal living things interact with the environment. So if you're looking at I have been thinking about the ecology of my property and because it's adjacent to, the property on the other side, what goes on there. And so how I can make it flourish for generations, with what I'm doing now. And so it's figuring out like, okay, if I'm going to clear trails through it to make it winsome property for deer to come and hang out, then I need to know like, if I churn the soil, that's going to change the pH level. What can I grow that will, work with deer? And, I want to make sure that, I have the right amount of trees so that the trees, aren't killing each other off because of beetles or rot or all these kinds of things. So it's just figuring out how that, all those things in the environment work together. But like an example of that I was going to say is in the mid to late 90s, the state deemed in its infinite wisdom that the long-held traditional practices of baiting bear and hunting bear and cougar with dogs was illegal. And some people that don't understand long-held traditions and all that don't really know that those are actually effective ways of controlling the ecology of, say, cougars. And so over the last 25 30 years now, because there has been less pressure on cougars, now it's affecting livestock, what you're saying with Joe Rogan. So I went and took Luke hunting about 2 years ago, hunting coyotes for his first time. And this was an area that I'd go deer hunting and I'd see 40 coyotes to every deer that I saw, and there was a decent amount of deer out there. Now there's no coyotes out there at all. Like we did not see any at all, and it was really weird. Like it was a very noticeable difference.
They're all around my chicken coop. Yeah,
so they'll travel. They're like, yeah, it's easier over there. So I ended up talking with one of the farmers. He came into our camp and I said, man, it's crazy. Like, is this something you guys have noticed? And he goes, yeah. If it's a problem now, it's not coyotes, it's cougars. Like he says, I see more cougars than coyotes.
Huh.
And so because they're not pressured, they're an easily pressurable animal because they have really no pressure anymore. Nothing's hunting them. Then they've been able to take over. And so they're eating up coyotes and goats and sheep and cows and all that. And they're, I think, much more effective at hunting the larger farm stock than coyotes are.
Yeah.
They can do it quietly. They can do it singly. They don't need a pack to do it.
I would always rather hunt a dog than a cat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Totally.
Cats, they're just sneaky. And you imagine anything bigger than a house cat, and you're like, I don't want to mess with that.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, these guys, literally, if I had come up the driveway 3 seconds later, I would have not known that they were there.
Yeah.
The way that they walk in a way that's invisible. Like they don't leave a track. I went back and I looked for tracks. I couldn't find any tracks. They didn't. There's a lot of moss and stuff like that. Deer will, knock up a chunk of moss from time to time, and dogs will rip it up. The cougars will just walk across it with bigger paws, more aggressive paws, and leave not a mark. I mean, somebody that's really skilled would be probably able to find something, but
Yeah.
I saw the trails that they went on, and I couldn't find
Right.
I couldn't find any evidence of it. And,
Wow.
And they move in a way that you just don't notice. Like it just plays with your mind. I'm looking at them.
That is why you need a bloodhound.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
they can track that scent and
totally.
just follow it. Because to a bloodhound like that, they can pick out a scent out of millions of different particulates.
Yep.
And just be like, oh no, I got it. Let's go.
Got it. Let's go after
That's why
this.
you use dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually killing a tradition. It's not like there's a value that goes along with hunting with dogs that is it's lost on us now, and at least in a lot of the United States. You get out into the Appalachia area and all that, and it's still, you still have plot hounds and, all the tradition of that. But it's something that it deprives men of a tradition that they should have in hunting dogs. And it's something I didn't always understand until seeing how it has affected us these many years later.
Yeah.
So...
Well, yeah, I think like there are lots of traditions, not necessarily hunting, but like bloodletting, in the past that
yeah, we don't need that.
were bad ideas,
Yeah.
So we should throw out bad ideas and we should keep ones that still make sense.
Yeah.
And that also, like people coming through, I think we were talking about this a little bit ago, like people, the Washington State history, everybody just coming through and taking out all of the old growth trees. Like that probably wasn't a smart move, but also there was nothing to stop them because it was just like, free reign on the forest.
Yeah.
Zero thought to the future generations or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't even think we need government intervention necessarily in that. I think that wise dominion-taking business owners and things like that, maybe they form a coalition. Maybe
See, here's an example of that. Right now, Meat Eater is traveling away from the mic there. Meat Eater, Steve Vernella, really good organization that promotes hunting in very realistic, fantastic ways. One thing I think they're falling short on is the government is setting up to offload millions of acres of land, and so they're saying, hey, let's we want the government to keep that land so it can be public land. How about this? How about you get a bunch of guys together to buy 1 million acres?
Right,
and
not Bill Gates to make fake meat.
Yeah, but like you'd make that a park where you can charge a fee to go in because it's private land. You can make it a hunting park, of 10,000 acres, or purchase 1 million acres over different tracts of land in different states, and then keep them private. And you know what? Because you care about it, and this is the argument that hunters like Steve Vernilla make that's accurate, is hunters actually make wildlands better. Good. Then hunters need to own that land, make it private, and keep it in a trust or however you can fashion it so that it's not something that is going to, have, a bunch of townhomes on it, but something that you can actually keep as a place for people to enjoy it, and then husband that land in a way that that whether you believe in God or not, they are actually glorifying God in what they're doing without fully understanding.
They see the practical ramifications of doing it. They don't acknowledge God as the creator, but they see what just input and output.
Totally,
just the effect of things.
And like not all private land needs to turn into a mall and a city and all that. Like you can still that's not necessarily glorifying God by making it livable for humans.
Can we at least keep it out of the hands of the Chinese? Oh my goodness.
like exactly. Do that,
Hopefully it's not near a strategic base or something like that. Did you hear like recently there was a bill? I don't know anything about the bill other than I saw this news clip, but in Arizona it was Governor Hobbs, the chick that beat out Carrie Lake, fairly or unfairly. We'll never know. But she shot down a bill that would have prevented Chinese from purchasing land near strategic bases.
Wow.
Like, why would you shoot that down? Like, I'm actually open to the idea that there were other things in that bill that were worth shooting down. I don't trust Hobbs or the darn, but I know that bills can be messy, but it seems like on that premise that, what would be bad about that?
There's no downside to that. What in the world? Yeah.
But we are up against it today. Josh has got a heart out that he's way past. But we are. I don't know how our recording will go over the summer. We'll see. But we do want to get some people on that are doing things in our local area, that are seeing the next thing and doing it, and whether out of something that they saw at first or not, or they listened to somebody that saw it for them. We do want to get some of those people on, and if you have a good idea, shoot it towards us. We'd be happy to reach out to somebody, and we want to keep picking up the next thing and doing it, and while not dropping the other plates that are spinning.
That's right.
So, walk obediently, and that might require some defiance as well. So you might need to weld them into one separable whole. Until next time, we'll see you.
Do it.
Thanks for listening to the Contraritics. Tune in next time for another dose of guns, beer, and contrarianism.